Alright, so we're going to draw monster number 2, and I'm going to include all these colors. You can check the description below. I'll have this palette, so if you want to just use these exact colors you can, and of course you can download my brushes as well. So the first color that we're going to start with is this nice lilac purple color, and you just want to do a good size square. And then fill that in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just take the top of the square and just kind of round it off. And it's okay if you come off the sides. It's okay if you come down the sides and just round the whole thing off like this. Also, I'm using graffiti brush. And we're just going to make these little round things on the bottom. And if you have to squeeze one in, if you have to squeeze one of these little bits in, just you can just make it a little wider at the end. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, you can use the eraser, and then you can just use the circle brush. And then you can just find a circle that's a decent size. We want to give them nice big eyes. I'll give them some bigger eyes. There we go, that's pretty good. And you just want to keep them sort of lined up. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our graffiti brush here. So we're going to start in this area, and then we're going to go around like this, up a little bit, and then we're going to go back up. So if you don't get this right the first time, you might have to do it a couple times. So we're just going to start here. We're going to go up a little bit, and then we're going to go up a little bit here. Then you can just bring it all the way down, over, and up. You can always erase manually if you'd like, or you can go to the selection tool, and you can, whoops, I'm on rectangle. You can go to freehand, and then you can select this middle section. And then you can 3-finger swipe down and cut. And one thing I notice is I have this part sort of curves out, and this part doesn't have as much of a curve. So I'm just going to take the graffiti brush, and I'm just going to fatten him out a little bit there. So now we'll take not the darkest blue, but we'll take the blue in the middle. So we have the darkest blue, the middle blue, and then the lighter blue. So we'll take the one in the middle, and then we'll make a layer underneath. And then we're just going to color in our mouth with the middle blue. And once you have that, then you can go to the darker blue. And just sort of make a shape, sort of a round shape right in the middle. We're going to alpha lock this shape. And we're going to stay on the same blue. We're going to stay on the darker blue. And we're just going to use our soft airbrush. And we're just going to airbrush in the top of the inside of the mouth. Okay. So now we'll take our lighter blue, and we'll go back to our regular graffiti brush, and then we'll make his tongue. So we'll do 2 of these little arcs and fill them in. So now we're going to take our lighter beige color, so not exactly white, but we're going to take the lighter beige. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our graffiti brush, and just make a bunch of these circles. But we're going to make them on the edge of the mouth, so you only see the top half of the circles. And then for the sides, you just do one circle and then do a smaller circle. And that gives the illusion that the teeth are sort of going back into his mouth. Let's make a new layer above that. And we'll take our sort of pale yellowish color. We'll stay on graffiti brush. And now on that new layer, we'll just color in his eyes. So now let's take the darker purple, and we're going to go back to our purple layer, and we'll alpha lock it. So right now we're on the layer of this purple right here. We'll alpha lock that. So now we're going to go back to our soft brush, or any soft airbrush, and we're gonna airbrush in the middle so that only the edges. You really want the edges to softly or to slowly get darker. And you also want to make sure that the eyes are the same size. Okay, so now do the same thing with the other eye. Just slowly build up that gradient. And you just want to make sure that it's pretty even. So we're going to do the same thing to this line here. So we'll stay with our airbrush, and then we'll just slowly, and sometimes you have to make sure your brush isn't too big. My brush was a little too big there, so I made it smaller. And that way I'm able to just control my shading more. Alright, so now we'll take this nice turquoise color, and we're going to make our soft brush really big. And then we'll slowly just fill in the bottom. Really softly, just kind of let it slowly build up. And then at the bottom you can press a little bit harder just so you get that nice turquoise color at the bottom. I accidentally colored in my color palette. Oh well, it happens. So the next thing we'll do is give him some little horns. So we just want to take, we'll take the same beige color as his teeth. And you can do these anywhere, but you want to make sure that you're on your graffiti brush. And oops, we want to make it just on a layer below everything. So we're going to put that layer on the bottom, and we'll just give him some little some cute little horns. And also you can always select them like this if you need to move them around or if you want to reposition them. That's the good thing about putting it on a different layer, is you have options. Okay, so now I'm going to color pick that color that we were just on, and I'm just going to go a little bit darker with it. Now I'm going to go back to my soft airbrush. I'll make sure the layer is alpha locked. And then I'm just going to softly just put some shadow, just shade around the bottom. So I'm just shading around the outer part. I'm doing the same thing on the other side. And then even just really softly, I'm going to do it just to sort of separate the edge of his skin with his little horn. So I'll do the same thing on this side. I think it's looking really good so far. So now we're going to take pure white. And we can take our graffiti brush and we can bring the opacity down to about, let's see what 20 looks like. We need to go back up to the color layer. 20 is pretty good. So we'll bring the opacity down to 20% on graffiti brush. And make sure this layer is alpha locked. So now I'm just going to make a lighter area around the bottom of the mouth. So I don't want my brush to be too big. So I'm just going to slowly come off, go around the bottom, and then come up. And I sort of make it thinner as I get to the top. Alright, so now we'll give him some eyes. So we want to do it on the layer above the yellow and below the color, his skin color. So we're going to make a new layer there. I'm going to use pure black. And you can either do this with, let me bring the opacity back up. You can either do this with graffiti brush, or again, you can use your circle brush and just get your circles the right size. That's actually pretty good. And again, if you want to adjust them, just hit the little selection tool here and then tap the resize tool. Now notice that I'm not putting the eyes in the middle of the yellow circles. You always put them a little bit closer together. That way it looks like he's looking right directly into camera. All right, so we're going to give the yellow parts of his eyes some love. We'll give it some shade. So I'm going to color pick this yellow color, and then I'm just going to go down from there, almost in the middle. Now I'm going to take my airbrush and I'm going to make sure that the yellow is alpha locked. And then we're going to do the same thing. The same way we shade everything else, we're just going to shade and just build up some darker yellow shadows for his eyes. So this will give his eyes some depth. I do some on the top. I do it really lightly on the top, a little bit more on the bottom. So now this next part is up to your discretion. You can take the darker purple color and you can put it on a layer above the black parts of the eyes. So right now I'm on graffiti brush and I'm on the darker purple color that we used. And if you bring it across like this, it will actually just look like he has a bottom eyelid. And you want to make sure that you have these even. And you know how we did this white along the bottom of the mouth? We're going to do the same thing along this ridge of the eyelid. So we're just going to go back to there's two ways to do it. We could go to white and go 10%, or we can just bring the purple up a little bit. We'll alpha lock that layer. And let's see if this works. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to experiment here because I didn't do this when I was practicing. But I'm going to stay with graffiti brush. I'm going to use black. I'm going to make a layer above everything else. I just want to see how this looks. So I'm going to make the brush pretty small. I think I kind of like that. So all I did was I just started about here and really lightly. That way the brush is thin like that. So I just started about here and then I just traced along the outside of the eye. And I make a little cute little thingy there. I can make that a little thicker. So this is something you might have to practice and keep doing, and you want it to be smooth. And if it doesn't look right, just erase it and keep trying it until it looks right. I'm going to make another layer on top of everything, and this is where I'm going to put the little highlights in the eyes. So just like with the other one, I'm going to choose white. And I'm going to choose graffiti brush, but I'm going to bring it down to 30%. And then we're going to do the little jelly beans. I like to have my brush thicker for these. Another one for the other eye. Okay. And now I'm going to bring the opacity all the way back up. And now I'll just add two little pops of light for his eyes. Okay, so now we have our monster. What we're going to do now is open the layers, and we're just going to right swipe on all the layers, and we're going to group them. And then we're just going to duplicate the group. And the only reason I'm doing this is because just in case you want to go back to any of the layers, and let's say you want to change the color of our monster, you can easily change it that way. So now we have our safety layer down here that we can turn off, and the new layer will flatten. And we don't need the color palette anymore, so I'm just going to select all of it and get rid of it. And what I always do is I duplicate, alpha lock the bottom one, then I go to black, and I tap on the layer and I go to fill color. And then I take the layer off of alpha lock. So now we have a normal layer on the bottom. Gaussian blur. This one I don't blur too much, so it's about 9%. And then I duplicate it. I go to the bottom one. I do Gaussian blur again. But I make it blur a lot more. And then I'll just lower the opacity to about 50%. Oh, we'll do 45%. And then I'll merge these two layers. So now we have our shadow layer. So you can change the shadows however you'd like, or you can just make it bigger. And you can change the opacity if you don't want that harsh of a shadow. I think I'm happy with this guy. I don't know what his name is. If any of you guys think of a name, feel free to let me know. We'll go ahead and call him monster number 2. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed that, and please, if you draw this little guy, be sure to tag me. I'd love to see what you do.